You send someone a completely ordinary two-line message. A few seconds later, a sentence appears in your head. That sounded stupid. You did not choose it, and you definitely did not invite it. Another thought answers almost immediately. It was probably fine. Then you notice both of them. 3 mental events have appeared within seconds, and every one of them came from the same mind. But they do not all deserve the same authority. So, why does the first harsh sentence often feel like the most honest one? Not necessarily because it knows you best. Often, it feels true because it arrived quickly, appeared in complete privacy, and may have practiced this role for years. That leaves a disturbing question. Is your inner voice your true self, or merely the first draft your mind produces under pressure? By the end, you will understand why some inner sentences feel so convincing, and how to decide which ones actually deserve your action. Before deciding which sentence is the real one, ask a simpler question. Does thought even require a sentence? People report considerable variation in what thinking actually feels like. Some experience frequent verbal narration, almost like a running commentary. Others notice short phrases, images, bodily sensations, emotions, or a sense of meaning without clear words. The same person may switch formats depending on the task. Low reported inner speech does not necessarily mean total internal silence. Inner experience simply does not arrive in one identical format. Thinking is clearly larger than a single voice narrating your life. In this video, the true self is not a hidden object buried somewhere in your skull. It is the broader pattern visible across your experiences, values, judgments, revisions, and choices over time. The inner voice is not the whole mind, but it is still a real and useful tool inside it. So what does this tool actually do all day? Inner speech is the experience of using language without speaking out loud. Sometimes it is a complete sentence. Sometimes it is only a fragment, a label, or 3 compressed words. You park on level B4 and silently repeat B4 while you shop. That quiet rehearsal keeps the information available until you need it again. Before leaving home, you think, keys, file, leave. 3 words carry an entire plan because your mind already holds the missing context. Before explaining something difficult, you quietly test the explanation first. Inner speech lets your reasoning fail privately before it meets an audience. A short instruction can also guide attention. Slow down. Check the last step. This is not merely ordinary speech with the volume turned down. Notice the pattern across every example. Usefulness does not equal authority. A genuinely useful tool is not automatically an infallible judge of truth. And its authority begins with one simple fact. Nobody else on earth can hear it. This creates the first illusion. Privacy feels like proof of authenticity. The sentence appears in the most private space imaginable, so it feels unfiltered and honest. But privacy only tells you where a sentence appears. It does not tell you whether the sentence is accurate. Think of a small child learning to tie a shoelace. The child says aloud, "Loop this one, pull here." That spoken guidance directs careful hands through a difficult new movement. Developmental accounts propose that some guiding speech gradually moves inward over time. The exact path differs, and no inner sentence is a literal recording of one adult living in your head. It is better understood as a learned pattern. Inner language can borrow patterns from caregivers, teachers, friends, culture, and everyday consequences. Approval, embarrassment, safety, and repeated correction can shape how you evaluate yourself. Return to the sentence. That sounded stupid. It may not be a replay of one specific critical voice from your past. It may express a learned evaluation style. Search for flaws. Expect rejection. Treat uncertainty as failure. The same social world can also leave behind patience, humor, encouragement, and problem-solving language. A sentence may be old and familiar without describing the present accurately. Borrowed patterns would carry far less weight if they arrive slowly and introduce themselves as guesses. That brings us to the second illusion. Speed feels like depth, but often it is only speed. Return to the 2-line message, now sitting unanswered for several long minutes. Your body tenses slightly, almost without permission. Your attention begins scanning for signs of rejection. An old awkward exchange resurfaces from memory. Then a sentence arrives. They think I am annoying. Before the sentence appeared, bodily state, emotion, memory, prediction, and habit may already have been active. The sentence may simply translate that activity into one tidy verbal claim. Sometimes inner speech genuinely participates in careful reasoning. Other times, it labels a reaction that was already underway. The first sentence may be the fastest interpretation available, not the deepest truth. Language can quietly turn soft uncertainty into total certainty. Maybe they disliked the message becomes, they hated it. Compare two descriptions of the same moment. The automatic claim says, they are judging me right now. A more careful description says, my body and attention may be preparing for social risk. The second sentence is not automatically correct. It simply reveals that more than one interpretation is possible. A fast answer sounds impressive when nobody asked it to check the evidence. And a fast sentence becomes harder to question once it has been repeated for years. That brings us to the third illusion. Repetition can feel like proof, when sometimes it is only familiarity. Watch how one small event becomes a permanent identity label. First comes the event. I sent one awkward message. Then comes the interpretation. I explained myself badly. Then comes the generalization. I am bad at talking to people. Finally comes the identity label. I always say the wrong thing. Inner speech compresses a specific moment into a broad story, deleting context, exceptions, and later evidence. Repeated sentences also become easier to retrieve from memory. Ease and familiarity begin to feel like truth, even though they are not the same thing. Repetition creates accessibility. It does not create proof. Repeated patterns can be accurate, but a sweeping identity conclusion requires broader evidence than one familiar sentence. Instead of, I always ruin conversations, try a more precise description. I became anxious and over-explained in this particular conversation. Precision acknowledges the awkward moment without promoting it into an entire official biography. A familiar story about yourself may be outdated, incomplete, or built for circumstances that no longer exist. Repetition is not the only reason a thought can feel personally revealing. Some thoughts feel disturbing the moment they appear. The mind continuously produces predictions, associations, images, and unwanted sentences. Some are strange, embarrassing, frightening, or completely opposed to your values. A thought appearing does not prove desire, intention, character, agreement, or future action. In fact, a thought may feel distressing precisely because it clashes with what you care about. A mental event proves that your mind generated something. It does not prove that you endorsed it. If intrusive thoughts become persistent or seriously disruptive, appropriate professional support can genuinely help. None of this makes the inner voice useless or dangerous by default. It can still plan, warn, rehearse, organize, and revise. The goal is evaluation, not silence or automatic obedience. So when a sentence speaks with total confidence, how do you evaluate it? By now, privacy, speed, and repetition may all be supporting the same claim. Here is one simple model. Notice, test, choose. Start with notice. What actually happened? And what sentence appeared after it? In our example, no reply has arrived yet. The sentence is, they think I am annoying. This returns the sentence to its place in a chain of events, a mental response, not an unquestionable fact. Next comes test. What exactly is the sentence claiming? What function might this thought be serving? It may be predicting rejection, trying to prevent embarrassment, or repeating an old social rule. Then ask, what evidence supports the claim and what evidence is missing? Right now, the only confirmed fact is that no reply has arrived yet. That does not prove the sentence false, but it shows the claim reaches far beyond the available evidence. Finally comes choose. What action fits the evidence you have and the values you want to express? You might wait, return to your work, clarify later, or resist sending 5 anxious follow-up messages. You do not need to make the sentence disappear before you are allowed to act. The method does not create perfect control. It creates a small but meaningful distance between mental output and action. The same 3 steps also work on an older identity label. Does I always say the wrong thing actually survive the test? What events support it? What exceptions challenge it? What choice would you make if the label were not automatically in charge? Notice what appeared. Test what it claims. Choose what deserves your action. Now, we can answer the title directly. Yes, your inner voice is genuinely part of you. No, it is not the whole of your true self. The voice can carry fragments of your language, memories, learned patterns, goals, and fears. But it does not contain every emotion, skill, value, or capacity to reconsider and change. There is no need to invent a second hidden observer sitting somewhere outside the mind. The processes that notice, compare, question, and respond are activities of that same mind. There may be no single sentence that reveals your complete, true self. A more reliable picture appears across what you feel, care about, examine, revise, and repeatedly do. The original message is still only 2 lines long. The internal trial may still begin the moment you press send. The first sentence may still arrive wearing a judge's robe. It never earned. But it no longer gets the chair automatically. A sentence may be old, loud, and familiar, and still not deserve control of your next action. The self was never a fixed verdict, hiding inside one early reaction. It is a larger pattern, still capable of revision. Your inner voice may write the first draft. It does not get the final word.